Dear ladies and gentlemen, you're watching NDTV. Rajya Sabha Chairperson Jagdeep Dhankhar today convened a meeting of floor leaders of the House on to Tuesday evening to discuss issues related to the judiciary. Now, in fact, in this meeting, it was decided that JP Nada and ministers will work towards building consensus on reforms in judiciary, even as opposition leader of opposition Mallikarjun Kharge, who is also the Congress president, is believed to have supported the idea of discussion around this matter. All this is after Supreme Court made public the allegations that cash was found in the residence of Delhi High Court Judge Justice Yashwant Varma when a fire broke out on the premises on the 14th of March. Now, the Chief Justice of India, Sanjeev Khanna, has also set up a three-member panel to conduct an in-house inquiry, setting in motion the constitutional process of dealing with complaints against judges of the higher judiciary. Now, Mr. Dhankhar also said that the matter extends beyond judicial concerns impacting the supremacy and relevance of the Indian Parliament. Well, we know that there is a sense in this country that the judiciary has not been fully held to account, especially in recent times. Procedures against some of them have not gone the whole way. Some others have resigned, but there have also been lapses. In the midst of all this, there is a renewed demand for judicial accountability. Remember, the National Judicial Appointments Commission, the NJAC, which aimed to address some of these concerns, were struck down by the Supreme Court in 2015. So was that a missed opportunity? Is there a need to have a fresh relook at judicial reforms? The government clearly wants that. The opposition says that it wants that too, but does not want government interference in judiciary. So can the Parliament, which could see a debate around this soon, pave the way for all of this? So that is what we discussed tonight. We will be joined by a panel of experts, but first let's look at some reactions.
I seek your suggestions on one very important point. What emanated from Indian Parliament as a historic development with rare convergence of unity since independence, found acceptance by needed state legislatures. We need to reflect what happened to that. Under the Constitution, there is no provision that allows anyone to tinker with that. There is no constitutional provision of review or appeal of a constitutional amendment. If there is legislation in the country by parliament or state, judicial review can take place on the anvil whether there is conformity with constitutional provisions. Now, before the nation, there are two situations. One, what emanated from the Indian Parliament, duly endorsed by state legislatures, sanctified by the Honorable President by appending signatures under Article 111. And second is a judicial order.
So that is Jagdeep Dhankhar, the chairperson of the Rajya Sabha, making an important announcement that, in fact, interesting that even in the meeting, he did not talk about the NJAC. He didn't utter that word. But what we understand is that it has been decided that there will be an attempt to improve consensus, to build that consensus for judicial reforms in the country. Now, remember that the country has already seen debates around this. In fact, the NJAC bill was also passed in 2014, but it was struck down by the Supreme Court in 2015. Now, we have seen certain incidents with regard to what happened with Yashwant Varma, the kind of cash that was unearthed from his house, and also certain other instances of judicial impropriety, which has also led to several questions on what really needs to be done to ensure that there is a system of checks and balances. We have Mr. Nalin Kohli with us. He's a senior advocate and also from the BJP. Thank you, Mr. Kohli, for your time, and also always a pleasure to have you on my show. First of all, how do you see this clamor, this renewed demand for judicial accountability from lawmakers from different parties? Is this a sign that this is one issue that is unifying even those who don't agree with each other on anything? And how do you see the chairperson of the Rajya Sabha stepping into this and the possible discussion around this? Do you see all of this going somewhere?
Well, it's being talked about in society. How can Parliament or parliamentarians be averse to a conversation, or they would not be expected to talk on it, Vasudha? I think he himself, Jagdeep Dhankhar-ji, is a lawyer. So therefore, he's been a senior advocate. He has practiced for a long time. So in fairness, I think his views also as a lawyer become important. He may have called it because members may have been raising the matter with him. It's a big issue. Let's understand that. It's unprecedented. The kind of visuals we have seen are unexpected, shocking, disturbing. To see wads of money on fire It's really, really shocking because after all, we have always looked at the judiciary as the bastion of impartiality for justice and where the common man imposes or reposes a great amount of faith. So when you see cash burning in a judge's house, no matter what be the circumstances, it's caught on video. And then after that, there are questions being asked about it disappearing. Then now there's the Chief Justice of India, Justice Sanjeev Khanna, and the Collegium, which are the 5 senior most judges, which is Justice Gawai, Justice Suryakant, Justice Oak, and Justice Vikramnath. When they have gone ahead and formed an inquiry, we are hoping that inquiry report will come soon. Yeah, but at the same time, the larger issues related to this are going to be in discussion and play in society. Because after all, this is one of the 3 most critical pillars, which out of the, in terms of the legislature, the judiciary, and the executive. So I think all of this is going to now remain in public space for a while. The debate on NJAC is bound to be reignited. I think for your viewers, I must explain for a minute that under the constitutional scheme, under Article 124, Supreme Court judges are appointed or have been envisaged to be appointed by the government.
Right.
And under 217, the High Court judges. Now, this is the system that was prevalent right up to the 1980s.
Right.
In 1975, when emergency came and Mrs. Gandhi imposed emergency, it led to judges being superseded, the most famous being Justice H.R. Khanna, who gave the dissenting view in the ADM Jabalpur case. Now, the ADM Jabalpur case was on the issue in which 5 judges were opining whether your fundamental rights of a citizen can be suspended during emergency.
Right.
So he was the sole dissenting judge.
Okay.
He would have been Chief Justice of India. He was superseded. He resigned.
Right.
And after that, the call of interference of the executive, which is the government as the appointing authority, took center stage in 1981, 93, and 98.
Right.
3 judgments come which form the Collegium system. And under the Collegium system, the 3 senior most judges appoint the judges of the High Court, and the 5 senior most judges appoint the judges of the Supreme Court in consultation with the government.
Okay.
NJAC, when Prime Minister Modi's government came in 2014, was an attempt to bring back a balance with the involvement of both.
Okay.
It was a constitutional amendment, but a 5-judge bench turned it down with a dissenting judgment of Justice Chalameshwar.
Right. So you've given us a good history to this, but Mr. Kohli, the judgment that struck down this constitutional amendment and the NJAC Act also accepted that there are flaws, but the majority chose to retain the Collegium system until it was improved. Do you think that those attempts to improve the present system stopped too soon? And how do you see this renewed attempt to bring in reforms affecting the relationship between the centre and the judiciary?
So, Vasudha, I think reforms is part of a continuous process. It is in the interest of every institution to work towards improvement and to ensure that its credibility and the faith of the people in that institution, whether it is the legislature, whether the executive or the judiciary, is maintained and strengthened. So I don't think reform itself is to be looked as an outcome of a negative event. It's a continual process. In this particular case, obviously the timing of reform and the cry for reform has started.
Right.
No doubt there are questions with the Collegium system. No doubt there are questions of transparency, etc. But while we do criticize, or people do criticize the Collegium system, the same system has also produced very good judges.
Absolutely.
So therefore, everything has to be seen with a sense of balance, a little bit of perspective. And I think at the moment, if I look at the Collegium, 3 out of the 5 judges in the Collegium are going to be Chief Justices of India. One is the sitting Chief Justice, Justice Khanna. Next will be Justice Gawai, then Justice Suryakant. I'm sorry, 4. And Justice Vikramnath will also be Chief Justice of India.
Right.
So they have a stake in the truth coming out, in ensuring that the institutional credibility is maintained.
Okay.
And they are certainly, I think, they will look at the larger pictures. But obviously, I can't guess what that would be.
Right. My last question to you, sir. The court had also cited concerns over inadequate judicial representation in the NJAC, something that you also pointed out, and the involvement of executive members, and it had argued that these factors violated the principles of judicial independence. Do you think that there is a better system than the present one that can avoid these allegations, that there's more prominence of the executive in judicial appointments, or there could be an independent commission that could be doing this?
Well, I think the movement towards improvement is the need of the hour. What exactly that improvement would have to be based on a consultative process, a wider consultation. And I think keeping the Constitution in mind, where Article 124 does exist, which gives the executive a very significant role, originally an exclusive role, Now with the NJAs, with the Collegium system, a consultative role, I think it is perhaps something may get curated out of discussion and consultation over a period of time. We need to wait for that. But I'd like to make one more comment, which is that one incident like this, even though it shocks everyone's conscience, cannot be a tool to run down the large part of people who do their work in the judiciary on a daily basis. Because after all, there are judges who work day in and day night. There are lawyers who do the same. I think that is one aspect. The second is, in any incident involving financial impropriety, there will be a giver and a recipient. So I think equally pertinent is not just that the issues pertaining to Justice Varma coming clean on it, or the inquiry finding out the reasons, or the entire story with regard to the cash and the burning of it. It's equally important to identify who's involved in the transactions. Who are the people who are involved, who may have brought the cash, given the cash, what are the reasons for the cash? Because if anyone is involved in gaming the system and therefore breaking down its independence and tainting the judicial system, it's equally pertinent that everyone works towards identifying that and bringing it out so that this is nipped in the bud.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Kohli, for joining us with those insights.
Thank you,
Clearly,
Vasudha.
this is an issue that is being debated in the society, and it's only nice and only understandable why the Parliament is also choosing to discuss this. Thank you so much, Mr. Kohli. Also joining us now is CPI MP Santosh Kumar. Thank you, Mr. Kumar, for joining us on this debate and also waiting so patiently. My first question to you, sir. The chairperson of the Rajya Sabha today talked about the NJAC bill. He didn't, of course, mention the name, saying that it could have handled the malice that we are witnessing now. He, in fact, the whole episode is centered around the cash hall justice at the justice's house. How are you looking at the possibility of a discussion? What is your expectation, not just from your colleagues, but also from the Parliament this time?
See, first of all, I can comment on the developments in the meeting, happened in the meeting.
Yes.
It was an all-party meeting. Almost all floor leaders were there. So it lasted for, so as to say, around 1 hour. So this process will continue, so as to say. So nothing has been decided so far. And an impeachment motion against the Allahabad High Court Judge, Mr. Shekhar Yadav, is pending before the chairman also. Now we are eagerly waiting for the outcome. Many issues were discussed, but I can't say what it was exactly.
Right. Also, Mr. Kumar, tell us a little bit about what really happened in the meeting today, because the Rajya Sabha chairperson often treats all of you with a lot of love and affection. So tell us, how was the sentiment today? And this is quite an issue that's unifying people from different political parties, isn't it?
No, that will be too early to say like that, because love and affection is of course there, but apart from love and affection, politics remains. No, politics is the guiding force for all of us. Love, affection, it's something else. The point is that we were strongly demanding an impeachment motion, and 55 of us, including me, signed the memorandum and still pending before the chairman. And another new issue came up during the course of the time. That is related to this Delhi High Court judge. So now two issues are pending before the government. The main thing is that whether BJP as a political party and being the political party which governs the country is really interested to move forward. Right. This is the pertinent question. Other questions are irrelevant. If BJP as a party takes initiative, we all will support this. It should not be, you should not mix up this Judicial Academy and other things. That is something not at all relevant at this point of time. Because we always stand for the independence of judiciary, and we will fight for the same in the coming days also. And now the pertinent question is, Shekhar Yadav's remarks against secularism and this shockingly, what is to say, corruption done by the High Court judge of Delhi. So these two issues are there. So let us talk on issues and what is the idea of the ruling party? That is more important. They were silent on this issue so far. I can't comment you on what were the developments in the meeting, because I'm not equipped to speak on that. That's why.
Right. My last question to you, sir. Shouldn't the judiciary also be looking at ensuring that it has a certain sense of self-correcting mechanism in such situations? I know the opposition has been stressing a lot on independence of judiciary, like you also rightly pointed out, but incorruptibility is also important for independence. So what really is the way forward? Do you think, an independent commission or a judicial commission could also be something that could be looked at?
For sure, no, more political control is not the solution. I mean, there must be a check and balance system, and judges should correct themselves. And it used to be, not only, this period, 30%, 35% of our judges used to be corrupt also. This was not my comment. This is not my revelation. This was stated by quite a number of learned colleagues and judges. So, let us arrive at a conclusion and a consensus, and political interference too much will not solve the issue. That's our take on this particular issue. And this discussion will continue in the coming days also. I'm hopeful of a positive outcome.
Right. Thank you, Santosh Kumar from the CPI, joining us and pointing to some very important expectations that the opposition also has from the promise of judicial reform, saying that independence of the judiciary is also very important, and they also want to ensure that there's more transparency in judicial appointments and also disclosure of judicial assets. Thank you, Santosh Kumar, for joining us on this broadcast. Also joining me now is Congress Rajya Sabha MP Vivek Dhankhar. He is also a senior lawyer. Thank you, Mr. Dhankhar, for joining us on this show. The chairperson today of the upper house made a lot of pertinent observations, saying that members need to introspect on the measure of reform that emanated from the parliament in 2014, that was even approved by state legislators. Makes me wonder, did the political class ruin a golden opportunity in 2015 by not taking the judiciary on board for the NJAC then?
I agree and disagree on both counts. I actually feel that the Collegium system created by the Supreme Court in the 90s, though created with good intent, has become very incestuous. And now the entire bargain is between the Collegium judges, between themselves, as to who should be the next judge. Now, as a result, there's a lot of unrest or disquiet in the bar and in general public also, that the best talent at times is not getting picked up. So there I agree that this needs a change. But where I disagree is that my experience of the government, and especially of the government of last 10 years, is that if you don't keep your judiciary independent, believe me, your democracy will be in danger, because you need an independent judiciary. And government is the biggest litigant before the courts, especially the superior courts. Now, if you give them a handle to dominate the appointments, take it for granted that it will be very difficult to get justice in courts, especially justice where government is involved and has a stake. So on an overall perspective, yes, I think it needs a relook. I also feel that Collegium system has now is not opaque. It needs to be changed. It needs to be modified. It needs to be relooked. But I also feel that a third party role should come in. But that third party role, as much as possible, make it as less as possible through government. It should be
government interference. You think is the bigger problem?
No,
here, the possibility of
problem. Any government in power is very keen to have their people as judges, and if you have their people as judges, take it for granted, Indian judiciary will be the biggest casualty.
Right. Mr. Dhankhar, so government interference, you say, or the prospect of it could be the problem here. But it also seems like an endless battle as of now. Even if the parliament passes a fresh and a nuanced NJAC version, judiciary could go, and strike it down again. What could be the best way forward then?
After this last episode of Justice Varma, I feel the bargaining part of the judiciary will be greatly weakened, because accountability has become a very major issue in the minds of the people. Now, there's no such thing as we are not accountable.
I mean, I'm really surprised that this incident took place on 14th night. A huge cash haul is noticed in the house of a judge, if we go by what the fire brigade or the police is saying, and if we accept the video as a true video of the things that be. So nothing, and no step is taken after that to seize it, to prepare a panchnama, to register a case. Now, for 5 full days, you allow the scene of crime to lie unattended. And now nobody knows whether it was a conspiracy or it was a cover-up. Who removed all the stuff from there? Now, there's this inquiry which has been set up of 3 judges. Now, this 3-judge inquiry is not an investigation. It's an inquiry. They'll just call people, and of course they will take statements. But the scene of the crime has been completely taken away. I mean, it's been, I won't say destroyed, but it's been completely overhauled. So frankly speaking, this is not the way you can function in this country. And this law that if a judge is found involved in a criminal act, you need, if you want to investigate him or start investigation, you need permission of the Chief Justice. Rightly so, because this was so thought, because they should not come under pressure of police.
Right. So in that case, an independent or permanent judicial commission for appointments and judicial accountability, do you think that is an idea that could be brought in?
I think yes, there has to be something of that sort. You know that today the judges themselves have apart from their own work, they've got so much involved in this collegium work and other work that it takes away their time and attention from the main cases. And there's so much of Adam work with them that the main cases become casualty. This is what I keep hearing from people I know in the judiciary.
Well, thank you, Mr. Dhankhar, Congress MP, for joining us on this broadcast with those insights. Thank you so much for your time. Well, Vice President Jagdeep Dhankhar has referred to the NJAC Act that was struck down by the Supreme Court, calling it a historic legislation endorsed by the Parliament with unprecedented support, something that could have dealt with issues effectively. He, in fact, also met flawed leaders of Rajya Sabha today, and there's been a decision that consensus will be built around judicial reforms. Well, this is a test for judiciary to see how it addresses a problem concerning its own, something that is so important for its integrity and respect. It's also a test for the government and opposition on how balanced, unbiased and committed they are to the cause of judicial accountability and reforms.